Hi, this is Mick with Bushcraft. I'm here at my secret spot on Panther Creek in Georgia. It's not a super secret because people know it's here. People have been here before us. But it's been a while, and so we're here with the Boy Scouts. There's about 4 adults and 5 scouts. We're sort of on a backpacking trip along the creek, and we're traveling very light today. And I want to show you our campsite, show you the little shelter that I've made, and maybe some little camp projects that we're working on. So stay with me. Alright, so what I've got here are 3 sticks that are about as big as my forearm, and I cut them off a piece of dead wood. They're not rotten or anything, so I'm going to use them to make a tripod, and then I'm going to try to build a improvised seat using this tripod. So, okay, here are my 3 sticks. They're about as big around as my forearm. They're maybe, I don't know, 5 feet long, maybe a little less. And I'm going to use some paracord that I have to lash a tripod together. Very simple. Okay, so we start with a clove hitch right here on one of the sticks, and then we weave over, under between the sticks. Over, under, over, under several times, and then we'll do frapping in between, which locks down the wraps. This is wrapping, and then frapping is going in between. Okay, this is not the best tripod lashing I've ever done. I cut my cord a little too short, but this is good 550 paracord, and I'm going to kind of try to deal with what I've done here. Here's the tripod that I just made. Here's the wool blanket that I'm going to use. I just folded it over once, and I'm going to put a stick where the fold is, and at the top where the stick is going to go here where the fold is, and I'm going to do a gather at the top and wrap some paracord around it and hang it off of the tripod, which is here. Okay, and all I've done here is just hang the empty bag, the empty folded over wool blanket for my tripod. And I'm going to put the stick through the bottom here, sort of as a tensioner, and we'll see how it does. Okay, here's the finished product, the tripod wool blanket chair. You need 4 sticks. 3 of the sticks make the tripod. 1 stick goes through the bottom here. The 3 sticks make the tripod. Fold the wool blanket over, tie it at the top. And then, if you're like me, you monkey with it for about 5 or 10 tries, and then you've got a seat. And I'm sitting in it right now. You can't really see it. I'm going to try to show it to you. Here's over the shoulder. There's the tripod. Here's the gathered top part of the wool blanket. And then down here is the part that I'm sitting on. And I've got just a few inches of ground clearance. It's very unstable. I have not built it very well. This is my first try at it, so it took a few tries. And it's sort of okay, but it really needs longer, much longer tripod. So I would say I need probably 6-foot long staves in order to do this right. So live and learn. It works okay. Well, here's my particular camp all set up. I've got my tripod wool blanket chair. I've got my tarp shelter with the ground sheet and my ground pad inside. And I've got my old cranky old backpack hanging on a tree. So this is sort of a new thing. I volunteered to stay behind while the boys went further down the river. And they have some adult supervision. So I volunteered to stay behind, sort of watch the camp, sort of work on my tripod wool blanket chair, and gather up some firewood. And I've done all that. And so I'm having a little snack sitting in my little tripod chair. And for the first time in a very long time, I have nothing to do. My electronics really don't work very well out here, so they're turned off. It's nice and quiet. crows, birds, crickets, frogs. Yeah, I can hear the river off in the distance. And oftentimes I have prayed to my Creator, just give me a break, just let me have some peace. And now that I've got some peace and I've got a break, I feel all twitchy. You know, what am I going to do with this time? What am I going to do? So, be careful what you wish for, I guess. I like it. It takes some getting used to. You have to decompress, slow down, slow way down. This pace is a lot slower than the pace that we're used to. I don't know how much of this pace, this sitting and relaxing kind of pace, would have been common for our ancestors maybe 100 or 200 years ago. I tend to feel like they had more of that pace than we do today. This is one of the numerous little streams that feed into Panther Creek, and it's right here in our backyard, and we're lucky to have it. We'll be taking our water filters out eventually and refilling our water supply. Here's another very good resource for us. It's a pine stump, and after I chopped on it just a little bit, I shaved off a little piece of pine wood, and it is very, very resinous. When you smell it, you can smell that turpentine smell. This is a very good fire starter. It's called fat wood, it's called lighter knot, it's called rich pine. I've heard it called a number of different things, but essentially if you find an old stump like this and you chop on it a little bit and then smell some of the wood coming off of it, when you smell that really strong pine saw smell, you know you've got a really good fire starter here. Okay, if you were stuck and you needed to build a shelter, you probably want to begin with a shelter that's already, nature has already sort of provided. In this case, there's a big fallen log. It doesn't look particularly dangerous. I got a lot of sunlight here, I'm sorry. Big fallen log that nature has already provided as kind of a backbone for a shelter. So you could throw some plastic over this if you've got it, a tarp if you've got it. You could cut boughs if you've got enough sunlight, and even if you don't, you can work in the dark. But this could be a fairly good place to start. Notice there's a bank here. This tree has fallen down an embankment. There's a bit of a wall here already in the back that you could build a fire, and the heat would reflect off of that back into wherever your shelter is. If you build your shelter here, that is an already ready reflector. Okay, there's the tripod wool blanket chair being tested out by one of our intrepid. It's the Batman burrito.
The Batterito.
Hold it, I've got to get closer here to make sure that.
I mean, I can get like down to here too.
To make sure that the people.
Brandon can see, but we can't. Actually, I can. Jay's just gonna have a bad night.
That's great. Okay, and then we have Scout number 2 in the middle, and Scout number 3. Oh, wow! I got you like hanging in the sunlight. Scout number 3. You guys really sleep like that?
Yeah.
Hanging upside down?
You can.
Have you actually?
Yeah. No, I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
You might want to hurry up. My hand's getting tired. This gonna fall.
That's probably not the right way, huh?
Come on, hurry. Over your heads. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, lift. Hey, how about you guys help?
No. Over your heads. Come on.
No.
Up here.
No?
You can't make me.
I can't. My head's too big.
It's because of your giant brain.
Boils.
Half the water.
You know what happens? So Jay, when it boils, what is happening to the water?
Oh,
it gets
that's
hot.
a science question.
Exactly.
It's blowing bubbles.
And when you get hot, when a balloon gets hot.
We get home at 5 o'clock.
We get home at 5.
Hey, I remember that.
Sucks. But I do get to sleep more.
One more year, guys.
You know how you've always told
I
me
don't.
I've been
Tomorrow, the
smoking
next.
Okay, if you're new to backpacking, some of our guys were very new to backpacking. And I want to share some of this with you that I shared with them. When you're backpacking, the weight of the backpack should be on your hips. You need a hip belt. I'm climbing over logs right now, sorry. You need a hip belt to properly hold the weight. If you do not have a hip belt, you're not going to be able to backpack with any significant weight. The shoulder straps on a backpack are there really to keep the load from shifting around. They're not there to carry the weight. So keep that in mind. You got to have a good hip belt, and that's what's going to be tight, and that's what's going to be hauling all the weight. Those big hip bones and lower body muscles, that's what's going to carry the weight. Part of the etiquette of a campfire is when you are done and you have your campfire completely out, and I mean completely out, where you can touch it with your hand and not be burned. One of the old school things to do is to take an unburned stick and stand it upright in the middle of that campfire ring. And the reason is, if there's ever a forest fire and they're looking around for the initial cause of the fire, when they see your fire ring, if it has that unburned stick stuck in the middle of it, they know that that's not where the forest fire started, right? If the forest fire had started at your fire ring, there would not be an unburned stick in the middle, right? And it's also kind of a reassuring signal to the people coming along behind you that, hey, some people here ahead of me knew their stuff. They put out their fire all the way, and they left a signal that they put it out, and they used the proper etiquette. It's kind of old school stuff that they don't teach anymore, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the truth of it. So think about that next time. When you put your campfire all the way out, take that unburned stick and stick it right in the middle proudly, and you'll be letting everybody know you're a savvy woodsman.